and welcome everyone. I am Karen Castor. I work at the Senior Center for the Foundation. If you're not familiar with our foundation, the Senior Center is part of the city's Parks and Rec program, but our activities and our programs that go on here through the Senior Center are funded by our foundation, which is a 501c3 charitable nonprofit. And it's through the foundation that we're able to offer so many opportunities for people, such as our lifelong learning classes, art and fitness, and so forth. So I want to thank you for joining us today to learn about planning your legacy. I just want to say, something that I've learned along the way is that leaving a legacy is not optional, because everyone leaves a legacy in some way, whether it's planned or unplanned. So planning can result in an outcome of passing on assets to family and community in a way that honors the people and the organizations that we all love the most. Of course, we hope you'll consider the Senior Center Foundation, because this place, the programs and the people all make a positive impact on seniors every day. Now today we are welcoming Katrina Rolle. She is the CEO and president of Community Foundation of North Florida, and she'll tell you all a little bit more about that. Katrina will be sharing information on legacy planning in a meaningful way and how we can demonstrate care and commitment to our families and our communities. She will answer any questions that you may have after her presentation, so you can go ahead and type your questions in the little chat. And this presentation will be recorded and put on our website, so you can go back and view it again. So I want to welcome Katrina. We appreciate you for being here and sharing the information with us.
Thank you, Karen. Before we get started, I just want to check in. I see some familiar faces. Hey, Lori.
Hi, Katrina.
Hey, Freddie.
Hi, Katrina.
I just want to check in. How's everybody doing? And we're still in this pandemic, and I know it's been crazy, because I think if we weren't, we'd be in person. But everybody's doing okay? All right. And I mean, this is the second time I've had to do something post an election day. So I'm not certain if that's something never that way, but for some reason that's been, second time in 3 years. But anyway, what I want to do today is start with a question. And I think Karen was a great segue that Karen shared this. It's everyone can leave a legacy. What will your legacy be? And I just want to share, I think, an approach. There are different ways that you can approach legacy planning, but I'm just going to share a way that I think you all can approach it. And part of it is I'm going to ask for a little bit of participation, a little bit of brainstorming, and just give you something to think about when you leave this presentation today. And then I'll round up with giving a little bit of information about the Community Foundation of North Florida. So as we talk about legacy planning in this presentation, we're going to look at values, legacy, and explore giving. And we'll start with values. And I'm going to ask the question for these two first, and then that's where we're going to brainstorm a little bit. I want you all to think about, even if you don't fully do it here today, what are 3 values that govern your life, and how closely do your recent actions and decisions match those values? Now, I have a list of some, and we'll start here, and then we can maybe add others that will be helpful to other people who are participating today. So innovation, finding new and creative ways of doing things. Loyalty, being devoted to a person, ideal, duty, or cause. Tradition, respecting customs and stories passed down from generation to generation. Relationships, caring for and spending time with family and friends. Equality, practicing the belief that everyone should have equal rights and opportunities. Impact, achieving lasting and positive change. Effectiveness, producing intended results. Compassion, feeling empathy, care, or concern for others. Community, feeling a meaningful connection to a group of people. Recognition, being appreciated and seen for your efforts. And faith, believing in a higher power and practicing religious doctrine. Now I'll tell you, when I did this, because this is something that we'll work with prospective donors or new donors. And there are other values, words that, if you will, that we can generate and we'll talk about in a minute. But I did mine, I did like 3 or 4. And it really does work when you stop to think about what values do you really identify with describing you, and then looking to see how your giving aligns with those values. So I'm going to pause for a moment and see if anybody has any other words that we might consider as a group. I'll throw out one more just to kind of get you going. Justice. You know, you may want to give to things that are really in pursuit of justice for all. Are there other words that you want to share with the other participants so that when you leave this presentation, you can continue to brainstorm? There's no right or wrong answer.
Well, for me, since I'm a feminist, I'm thinking of my feminist values, and that's where I would put my legacy into that.
Say that one more time. What was the word?
A feminist.
Oh, feminist. Okay. All right.
Well, this is Freddie. I thought of love and family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How about kindness?
Yes. Okay, so we have feminist, love, family, kindness. Who else?
What about high morals?
Okay.
And
Was that Lossie that said that?
Yeah,
Were you going to say something else?
no.
No? Okay. Anybody else want to add? All right. So now the question becomes, how will your values help inform your legacy? And I want to explore some ways that can help you further explore that. Okay. So I got to move my little picture. We kind of talked a little bit, I asked this already, how does your current giving reflect the legacy that you wish to leave? Because if you've identified your 3 values and your current giving is not aligned with that, it's reason for you to pause and reflect and say, am I being as intentional with my giving as I want to be? And then how do you measure the impact of your giving? For some people, just giving is all that matters to them. Some people want to see the return on the investment. Some people want to see how a life was changed. How do you define how you measure the impact of your giving? What change do you want to see as a result of your giving? If you could solve any problem, what would it be and why? You know, I'll just share with you one of the things. For many years, I served on the board for the Children's Home Society, and I personally believe that every child deserves to be loved, because no one asked to be here. So if you bring a child into the world, I believe that that child should be loved and protected. And so that's one of the reasons why serving on that board really spoke to my heart and really helping to help those children. And I'm my daughter's Girl Scout leader. And I always tell the girls, because they're now at a point that they're starting work on their Gold Award. And I used to I formed a teen leadership council when I was at the Children's Home Society. And I told them, I said, just like I tell my Girl Scouts, pick what speaks to your heart. There's enough for everybody to do. I mean, there's so much work and so many needs in our community. Pick what speaks to your heart, and that's what you give to. That's what you work towards. It may not be children for you. It may be pets. It may be, you know, some of the things that we've talked about here: feminist, love, family. What speaks to your heart, and how do you help solve a problem in that space? What is your favorite organization to support and why? And this is when you start. If I had $1 million, how would I give it away? That's really helpful when you stop and think, how would I give away $1 million? And so all of these questions can help you further decide how your values will help inform the legacy that you leave behind. And so you've done all that. So you've worked through your values, you got your top 3, you may even have 5, but you know, if you can just get 3 and you've answered those questions and now you're ready. So now what? The next step really would be to talk to your estate planning attorney or your financial advisor to discuss your charitable plans. There are people that want to give more so right now during their lives. Some people will, I have a couple of fund holders that they said, well, you know what? I have a life insurance policy and I want it to fund an endowment when I die. So they're focused on after death. There are some people that give during and after. These are your decision points that you have to decide how you want to give. And then you have vehicles. So a bequest. I was typing up an agreement this morning. Had a couple to come in, they don't have any heirs, and they're going to establish a fund through their will upon their death. We have folks here that have charitable trusts. Primarily we have it can be a charitable lead or remainder. So with the lead trust, the charity gets dollars over a period of time, and then the remainder goes to the family or other beneficiaries. And then a charitable remainder trust is just the inverse of that. It goes to the family members or someone else first, and then the charity gets it on the back end. Retirement plans, there are people that use their IRAs for charitable purposes. You can do that. The IRS allows you to donate to a charity using your IRA. And if you've reached a certain age and you're required to take that minimum distribution, you can do so that way as well. And then you have the life insurance policies. Now, we actually have someone here that they've just paid up a policy in full, and it's going to benefit the community foundation or their endowment fund upon their death. So these are things that you can talk through with your professional advisor, your estate planning attorney, to help you figure out what's best for you in terms of how you want to leave your legacy. And so then you make the connection. Karen already said the Tallahassee Senior Center Foundation, that's an example. And they actually have an agency endowment with us as well. You may have multiple charities instead of just one. So how do you handle that? Or it may be a charitable cause. Another example is I have someone I'm talking to right now, and I've drafted a fund agreement for her. She wants it to be a field of interest. I am interested in disabilities, helping people with disabilities and helping people who are experiencing food insecurity, with the primary focus on children. That's her interest. And so that's more broad because she's not naming a specific charity or charities. She just wants it to benefit those areas. And so that would be the charitable cause.
Excuse me, can we ask questions as you're talking?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so in that last one with these field of interest, I would just tell what do you call the person who's doing this? Is it an attorney? Or?
So you can go to your attorney as a starting point to start talking about what you want to do. The attorney will help you determine whether are you going to do it through a bequest? Are you going to do it through your life insurance policy? You know, your financial advisor is going to be the one when you start talking about your IRA and things like that. So it depends on how you want to give, right?
So who would be the person to go to start? Are you?
So now if you want to come and just talk to, yes, you can call me. If you want to just sort of brainstorm with me separately, I can tell you, oh, you might want to talk to your estate planning attorney for that, or you might want to talk to your financial advisor for that. There are some things that certainly we can talk to you about. There's certain things that the Tallahassee Senior Foundation can talk to you about. It depends on what you want. I'm going to have my contact information at the bottom of this presentation, and you can feel free to reach out at that juncture. But tell me, I mean, if there's something I can help you answer now, help me help you. Tell me what you're looking for.
Well, okay, maybe it'll help other people too here. So I don't have any relations, any relatives, such like that. As I said, I'm a feminist, so I want to leave it to certain causes that would benefit feminism. So who would I be talking to? Someone at TLC?
So here's if you want, if you're interested in feminist causes, a first step for that, you can come and talk to us. And if you already know, for example, what we do when we have a field of interest fund and people leave that to us, then research who's doing that, who's working in that space, and give that way for that particular fund. Now, the next step would be, how are you planning to fund this fund? And then that's when you need to go and talk to either your estate planning attorney. You may say, you know, it's going to be in my will, Katrina. Then I will say to you, you need to go talk to your attorney, and either you have to amend your will, or, you know, you need to draft a will. I'm not certain where you are in that place. You may say, you know what, I want to set up something right now to benefit feminist causes. And I have an IRA and I have a required minimum distribution. Well, you want to talk to your financial advisor to see, and we can work with you and your financial advisor to get that accomplished. You may say, you know, it just depends on how you're going to fund your charitable intent.
So the first thing would be to talk to you, and you would point me in the right direction.
If you want to set up an endowment, what we call a field of interest endowment. So if you want to, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit about the community foundation. If you want to work with the community foundation, you may decide that you might already know that there are multiple charities, right, that do the work that you're interested in doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and try and either work with the three of them separately, or work on setting up an endowment to benefit those three charities that really speak to what I'm most passionate about. Now, I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but that's okay. If you're really interested in, say, a set number of charities, we have what we call a designated fund that you name the charities that you want. Let's just say one of those charities goes out of business, or for whatever reason, it's not a good fit for the dollars to go there, then we would help look for something that's most similarly close to what that charity did.
Mm-hmm.
Did that answer your question? What is it?
It seems like you would be the first step.
Yeah.
Or the senior center.
Well, yes, I don't know how the senior center works with feminist causes, because the senior center is going to be more focused, and Karen and Maureen and Sheila, you all correct me and feel free to step in, but my thought would be the Senior Centers Foundation is more focused on the mission of the senior center and doing things for seniors. Whereas if you're interested in something different, then I don't know how they would really be able to help you, but they could tell you that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Katrina, what we can do is send a resource card that has a list of elder law attorneys, and also one that maybe has some financial planner options. And then Kyrene, you would select you know, who you wanted to go to work out those things.
Okay. But Kyrene, if you can start, we can talk about it first. You can give me a call and then we can take it from there. Okay.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Sheila as well. All right. Any other questions before I move on? All right. So I want to, Kyrene, we already sort of queued this up a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about the community foundation. So what is a community foundation? So community foundations are public charities that really inspire philanthropy, and they help strengthen communities. The goal is for the charitable giving to impact the communities where the community foundation has a footprint. The Community Foundation of North Florida has an 11-county footprint. However, we do have fund holders who give outside of our community. People give to their alma mater. They might give to a charity that was near and dear to their heart when they were growing up. But ideally, we like for people to help support the community where we have a footprint. The central purpose is to serve the needs and philanthropic aims of donors like you, Kyrene, or and others who wish to better your community. And we do that in a real simple way. It's not complicated. And I'm going to get to that in just a second so you hear the steps. So we were really formed with the Tallahassee Regional State Planning Council, had this idea 23 years ago, well, 1995, there it is, because I don't have to do the math, to come up with something as a way to help their clients. And then the Community Foundation of North Florida is incorporated in 1997, and it received its first gift. And fast forward to 2019, because we don't have the total numbers for 2020 yet, We have over 200 funds, including the 72 nonprofit endowments. Tallahassee Senior Center is one of them. And we manage over 80 million in assets, and we've distributed out over 33 million in grants. And in 2019, we distributed $3.8 million alone. Our mission is simply to enhance the quality of life in the North Florida community through the promotion and support of charitable giving. That is what we do. And we really like to focus on endowments, primarily because it lasts through perpetuity. So we work with families and we provide tax efficient ways for legacy giving. We help charities with endowments, and we help professional advisors assist their clients. We, from time to time, we get a call from a professional advisor saying, hey, I got a client. They're not sure what they want to do yet, but I'm going to send them over to you all so they can explore what they're most interested in. And then we work with professional advisors that way. But they, obviously it's if their clients have come to them and expressed an interest in giving back in a charitable way. So what are endowments? They are permanent funds where the principal is invested and a portion of the fund is distributed annually to your philanthropic causes. And so you have an endowment, you come up with the name, it lives beyond you and continues to give in the way that you want your legacy to continue to give. And I just want to talk a little bit about the power of an endowment. This is actually a true fund holder. I mean, obviously that there are no names. They put in gifts between 2004 and 2009, and then they kind of stopped for a while. And they, between 2011 and 2019, they made 38 grants from their fund. But look at the value, even though they were still granting out money because the principal was still growing through investment, the value of the fund continued to grow. And this is how this will happen in perpetuity. I mean, ideally, as long as the stock market doesn't completely crash, but it will continue to grow and your fund, your endowment will continue to give. So now I want to talk a little bit about the ways in which individuals and families use the community foundation. We have some folks who are just purely for a philanthropic purpose. There are some people that want to use appreciated stock to set up a fund or give to a fund. We've already talked a little bit about an IRA. There are some people that want to, we have some funds that are set up and they give through their funds anonymously. They just want to give, but they don't want, maybe some people have said, I don't want to be harassed, I just want to give. There are different reasons. We've talked about insurance policy. We've talked about someone not having any heirs and how they can continue to give. There are, if you have a big bonus or you have a windfall year, we've talked about the lead trust. We have a couple of corporate advised funds that companies have done, and I'm going to go a little bit more into these in just a second. And we are really an alternative to private foundations, because private foundations, there's a lot of paperwork, there's a mandatory payout, there are a lot of things that go into that, when an endowment can really serve almost the same purpose as a private foundation. And of course, their legacy gifts. So I want to talk a little bit, give some examples of some of the type of fund holders that I just kind of talked about in the previous slide. Mr. Generous, larger lifetime gift or bequest for a favorite charity. I gave you an example of someone that is going to be giving, setting up a fund through a bequest upon their death with us. Supporting a favorite charity with appreciated stock. When you do that, you don't pay the capital gains on stock. And so there's a way that you get a tax incentive for doing it, and you fulfill the charitable cause at the same time because you get the immediate tax deduction as well. We've talked about gift from an IRA. We've talked about the insurance issue of using that. And I think that I didn't talk about the second one. You can take out a new policy and make annual contributions to cover the premiums. We've talked about the no heirs. And again, this is something for you, Karine, in terms of, I mean, I can't remember, you said you have no relations. That means you have any children or?
No, no one.
Okay. So that might be, this is benefiting multiple charitable causes and interested in the benefits continuing for a very long time. Here's one we talked about. If you just had a great year and you want to put it all in 2019, but you want to give it out over time, we can help you with that as well. We've talked about the lead trust. And we don't, Community Foundation does not serve as a trustee, and that's why you have to work with your legal advisor when you're doing these using these legal vehicles. And so now I've told you guys that the Tallahassee Senior Center has an endowment here, but I want to talk a little bit about how we work with nonprofits. So you've seen this slide, but I'm going to focus on that second one, the charities with endowments. So endowments help nonprofits with sustainability. We're in a pandemic. Nonprofits can get distributions from their endowments. Obviously, the higher the endowment, the higher the amount of their distribution. So if you think every business, nonprofit or not, is going to go through peaks and valleys. So if they can take out a distribution, it can help smooth out those valleys so that it helps with their sustainability. They're often very small and busy and don't have time to be worried about working on an endowment. And not every nonprofit has a foundation like the Senior Center, and there are some that have them, but many don't. And quite frankly, when nonprofits are dealing with donors, when a donor knows that they have a plan for long-term sustainability, and or even that they're working with us or some other foundation, it helps build donor confidence. We have the investment expertise. We have an outside investment manager, Common Fund, that manages our portfolio. Common Fund, they work with 431 foundations, and they have 25 billion with a B in assets under management. We have endowment tools and education that we've helped with nonprofits. We have a resource kit that we work with, and I have someone in my office who is, her title is Director of Donor Relations. She's in the process of now meeting with the nonprofits with endowments with us to give them tools on how to grow their endowments. And then we handle for nonprofits, the plan giving and gift acceptance support, we take care of all of that for them. Again, with the Senior Center having its own foundation, they can do that for their organization. But if someone wants to give to their endowment here, we have that as well. We can work with them in however ways that, if you're interested in a Tallahassee Senior Center, your first stop is to go to the Tallahassee Senior Center. And if they want to have some of those dollars come to their endowment, we can work with all three of us can work together. So at the Community Foundation, to get started with us, you'd have to have a minimum of $10,000 now or later, i.e., again, remember, you can start a fund with a bequest, or you can start a fund with naming your fund the beneficiary of a life insurance policy. Whether you want it to be a donor advised or designated. Donor advised, if you're starting now, is you choose what you want. You know, it's like you get to choose every year. Designated, you've sort of narrowed down to, 5 charities or more of where you want to give, or field of interest like Katrina. I'm interested in this cause and this is what I want. Or do you want to contribute to an existing endowment like the Senior Center Endowment, or we have other agencies with endowments as well. And whether it's endowed versus non-endowed. Non-endowed is simply what we call internally a pass-through fund. We have a fund holder with a non-endowed fund. Every year she sells appreciated stock and she puts money into her non-endowed fund and she spends it all down. And then the beginning of the year, she sells appreciated stock. And then this is what she's doing. So she is not paying capital gains on the stock and she's getting the charitable deduction. So it's a win-win for her. So those are different ways that you can do that as well. We handle all of the administrative details. We mail the checks stating the fund and who it's from. We tell the recipient to, here's who you need to mail a thank you note to, or if it's anonymous, we just tell them it was given anonymously from a fund here. And then the donor or the fund advisor, because some donors have said, I'm going to set up this fund, but I want you to, I'm going to name, for example, my daughter or my son as the advisor for the fund. So they will be advising you on where I would like grants to be made. And then you get a quarterly statement letting you know, here's the activity from the last quarter, here how the investments did, just things about your fund. So I want to end, oh, is it playing? I want you to watch this. This is a video that we've just done here.
Built a successful career and provided for your family. You're living the life you imagined, but the passing of time hasn't lessened your resolve to do more, to give back and create a legacy that will define how your family will be remembered. When you provide provide charitable support through the Community Foundation of North Florida. You not only invest through a trusted legacy partner, you give to the community, which has given so much to you. The Community Foundation of North Florida, be remembered.
So I'm going to end with the same question I started with. Everyone can leave a legacy. What will your legacy be? So I've given you a lot. Are there questions? Do I need to go back to anything?
Well, it seems like, what you're saying, yes, there's a lot for someone who has never heard any of this stuff before. So to talk to someone about specifically what I want to do, et cetera, who do I talk to? Your organization? Who do I talk to?
So Karine, if you share, your focus, and Sheila, please step in because I don't want to overstep bounds in terms of the senior center. But when you share with me that you are interested in feminist related causes.
One of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's just one organization?
No, I mean, that's one avenue I'd like to go into, but there'll be other areas too, to divvy up my legacy too.
So I will give you an example of a document I just drafted this morning. And I think, I'll say it, I think I've already shared, but I'm gonna say it again. The donor is interested in helping people with disabilities or who experience food insecurity with a primary focus on children. That would be a field of interest fund. Now, I will tell you though, with the field of interest fund, when you tell us these are the causes that I'm interested in, then you're not advising us on an annual basis. You're just saying, I'm going to put the money into this field of interest cause, and you, Community Foundation, you research all of the causes that fall within these two realms.
Mhm.
You want something that you want to advise on an annual basis yourself, then you really want a donor advised fund. We can help you research the causes, but you each year get to decide what you want to do.
Yeah,
So,
no, what I'm looking for is just after I die, I don't.
okay.
care about
And you
my-
want to, you more than likely, if you're just causes and you haven't had any specific nonprofits that you've identified, you would want what we call here a field of interest fund. It would be, you would say, these are the causes I'm interested in. So when I die, Community Foundation, you have to research these nonprofits in this space. You may say, I want you to look in the Tallahassee area, but I also want you to look in my hometown. I don't know where you're from. And so we have to look at that. And then we vet, before any grant checks are given to any nonprofit, we vet them. Do we make sure that they are in good standing, that they are C3s?
Okay.
You're waving your hand, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so, but I don't know then before I die, who you plan to give this stuff to.
Kyrene, how about if Karen or one of us, one of the senior center staff, we'll give you a call and we'll help you get to that next step, whether it's meeting with Katrina or an attorney. We'll follow up with you individually so that we can get you to the next step. Those
Okay,
are great, great thoughts, and we appreciate that generosity, and we want to get you satisfied with what you need.
better then than now.
Yeah, we'll follow up with you.
Okay.
Any other questions? And thank you, Kyrene, for your questions. All questions. Any comments?
Well, I do have-
Katrina, this is Lori.
Sure.
I have a question. You had mentioned the capital gains. I don't know a whole lot about that. Is there a particular place where I could, just read a little bit more about that before pursuing something
For
like that?
your stock, you can either talk to your CPA, which is probably the best step, because they will tell you, where you fall within a tax bracket and how it affects you. So that will be my first stop to tell you to go there. Obviously, you can Google it, but for your particular situation, it would be your CPA.
Okay, thank you.
Tell me, so I can't see everybody, or maybe we can take this off of, oh, how do I stop sharing the screen? I'm gonna stop the share. So, oh, good, there you go. So for the folks with the cameras on, how helpful was this? I mean, you got some nuggets in terms of the words that can start helping you identify what you value to help you inform how you might want to give and leave a legacy. And I promise you, it really does work. When you sit back and you reflect on these words and you start looking at, well, how have I given recently and how have my decisions been informed by my values? It really does help bring clarity to how you might want to leave or what legacy you might want to leave. And then those other questions, stop sharing the screen already. But those other questions, like the page where if you had $1 million, what would you do? Those kinds of questions help you hone in even further on how you want to give and leave that legacy. And then it's just a matter of what vehicle, how are you going to do it? And who are you going to do it with? So, so I guess what I want, and it's okay if I see a thumbs down, I want to know, because I want to make sure that when I present and share, that it's a value add, not a take away from anything. So thumbs up, they just give you, was this helpful?
Yeah, and I would like more, that's, this is like a start on overall, and then
Yes.
I need to talk to someone specifically about what I want to do. So how
Yes.
do I find this person?
Yes. So, and Sheila, I will say this, in working with Karine, one of the things that we do here also, and we can work with you with Karine on that, we have an exercise that we'll walk through with people, a little bit more in depth about what I've done with the values, a little bit more with some visualization, some visualized cards on helping you even explore your legacy more. And then helping Karine with that, and then she can come back to you, or however you want to do it. We can work with you with her.
Okay, we appreciate that.
I didn't mean that bad.
You're fine.
Karine, I didn't mean her to you, Karine. I didn't want to make that sound impersonal. Other thoughts?
Yes.
Katrina,
This was very useful, Mrs. Freddie. So I thank you. Now I have 3 endowed scholarships at universities, my alma maters, basically. And they're not included in my will, but my family, my daughter and grandchildren. So is it just enough to leave them in the will and then just have these other endowed separately? Endowments.
So when you have an endowed, they're already being managed and run by the universities anyway. Now, with the university endowments, do you get to pick the scholarship recipients, or they do it?
I allow them to do it with
Okay, so they do
first
everything.
year
So you don't have
college.
to worry about that at all. That's already done.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
If there was somebody else with a question, I can't remember.
Katrina, I just wanted to follow up with you when you're talking about multiple charities. One charity doesn't necessarily have to get all of that life insurance benefit or that IRA benefit.
That's right.
We encourage people to look at, like you said, I liked how you presented the values part of it. And if you leave a charity like the Senior Center Foundation, 5% or 10%, and you have other charities as well. I know I do myself have, the bulk of it may come to the foundation, Senior Center Foundation, but there's a couple of other things I value a lot. And so I might split that up 3 ways. So, right. And you could do that with different assets that you might have. You might have life insurance, and you might have an IRA, and you might have, some other things that have beneficiaries. And so don't think about it all going to that charity, or 90% of it goes to your kids or your family, and 10% goes to your charity.
Right.
So it's not an all or nothing kind of thing.
Right. And then you would work with your insurance agent on that, because then you just have to figure out how you want to do the beneficiaries. It's no different if you say, well, I'm from a family of 4 girls. So if my parents said we're going to give to the girls 25% each, it's no different than splitting up the beneficiaries that way, which is what Sheila's saying. So you can give to multiple charities through your insurance policy. And that's, well, you may know that passes outside of the will anyway. That's not going through your estate, because that's a contractual arrangement and it passes outside of the will. Other questions?
Katrina, this is Lori. I just want to say that I thought your approach was wonderful,
Oh,
because when you start to think about it, it can feel very overwhelming. But when you do this so simply and just say what matters to you and then begin to narrow it from there, it really is a perfect way to start that planning. So I liked it.
so that's 2 thumbs up, Lori.
It is.
Thank you. All right, so I put my, I guess it's gonna be on the website. I put my contact information there. Feel free to contact me, email, call with any additional questions. And Kyrene, Sheila, and I got you covered. We're gonna take care of you, don't worry. And if you think of anything, because sometimes after presentations you say, oh, I wish I'd asked that, just email me and I'll get you the answer.
Thank you.
I don't have anything else.
All right. Thank you so much and stay safe.
All right.
Thank you very much,
All right,
Katrina.
take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Katrina. Thanks you guys for attending, and reach out to us if you need any information or anything. We
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Sheila.
Take care.
Bye, y'all. Thanks,
Bye,
Katrina.
Jonathan.
Bye.
Bye, Vip. Be blessed. Be safe.